What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna go back in time. I'm gonna share a little bit about my journey of becoming a financial advisor, and in that process, expose and reveal how the financial service industry works. Now, in most cases, if you are working for an employer, a company, and that company is bought out, you are fearful if you even have a job, if your position exists. But in the financial services industry, it is completely different. And I didn't know this until I found out firsthand. And through this process, I gave up $422,322 that was handed to me. I gave that up. I'm gonna share why I did that, how I did that, and more right now. For those of you that are new to the channel and unfamiliar with my background or my history, I was a financial planner for 16 years. I began my career with a firm that was named A.G. Edwards. I started this career right out of college. I was an intern, took a job as a junior broker, and then became a financial consultant and was with them for 5 years. Now, the only reason that I left is because that brokerage firm was bought out by another brokerage firm, actually a bank. It was named Wachovia Bank, which no longer exists because they were absorbed by Wells Fargo. I remember the morning that it happened, I got a text message from another financial advisor in the office that I worked with. And then I turned on CNBC and there it was, the news that A.G. Edwards was selling. The company that I started my career with was no longer going to be around. Like, I was just in shock. But that wasn't the biggest shock that I was going to experience. It wasn't until I got to the office, talked to some of the other advisors, and I learned how it works, how the financial service industry works. And what I learned was because one of the advisors said, I wonder how much they're going to pay us to stay. And I was like, what do you mean pay us to stay? Pay us to stay? Like pay us to stay at our jobs? I don't get it. Like I have a job, I'm working, and they're gonna pay me to stay? Like, help me understand this. So what I quickly learned in the process that when one firm is buying out another, it's a state of chaos and uncertainty. And for the financial advisors that are with the company that is being bought out, it's a prime opportunity for them to explore other options, other firms, because they might not like the company that's acquiring them, or there might be something better out there for them. So in those cases, the firm that is acquiring the other firm is going to want to pay those advisors some sort of retention bonus for staying, for not leaving, for not bolting to something new. And the reason for this is because the financial advisor is the sales force for the brokerage firm. They're the backbone. They're the reason they get all the revenues, all the profits. It's them. So if they are your top talent, you don't want them to leave. It's just like an athlete entering in free agency. You want to pay them, sometimes overpay them, just so they stay, so that you don't lose their talent, their skills, and go to work for the competition. So at the time that this is going down, I'm 29 years old. I'm married. We have our first child on the way. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. The firm that I'm working for, that I love working for, that I've been here for the past 5 years, they're going to pay me a bonus on top of what I'm already making just to stay. Like, that is blowing my mind. But my mind gets even more blown. So it was taking some time for my firm to create the retention bonus, all their calculations of how much we were going to get paid. But I mean, I'm excited. I'm pumped to see what that amount is. But in that process, I started to be recruited by another firm. Merrill Lynch, which is one of the biggest brokerage firms. And back in the day when this was all going down, like, they were the brokerage firm. Like, they were the Mac Daddy. They were big time.
Oh, it's the Credit Mac Daddy.
The Credit Mac Daddy is in the house.
They started recruiting me and another advisor about opening our own branch office. And let me tell you something, when a firm like that is recruiting you, like, that makes you feel pretty dang good. And in part of that process, they flew us out to New York. And at the time, I had never been to New York. So they put us up in the Ritz. We had black car service. We went to some of the finest restaurants in New York City. I mean, I am loving it. I'm eating it up. Can't beat free meals.
That's a big thumbs up, dude. Oh boy.
When I got back from New York, I was so excited. I was so jazzed. I remember just talking to my wife how awesome the trip was. And I just knew that that was the next chapter in my life. Like I knew that opening up a branch office, a new office in our town of Merrill Lynch, like that was the next thing. And as I'm excited about this, I'm loving this. And then I get the offer, I get the package. They were going to offer me $359,865 in total compensation. Some of that was upfront cash. Other of it was paid over performance bonuses provided I hit certain levels. But either way, like it was a game changer for me. Like I said earlier, remember at the time, I'm 29 years old. I have one kid on the way. Of that, $138,000 was going to be cash up front. The other $59,000 was stock. But I was making about $60,000 or $80,000 per year. So to receive almost $140,000 up front on top of being able to make the same amount that I was already making, like that was almost tripling how much I was making at that time. Like that was huge for me. Let me give you a quick breakdown on what that looked like, how much they were gonna pay me up front, how much of that was cash, stock, and the rest that was paid out as a performance bonus over a 5-year period. All right, so here is the print off. This is what I received 12 years ago. And first, let me just show you the bottom. There is the $359,865 that I could have made and how that broke down. So we had the upfront bonus, which 70% cash. We had $138,000. We had Merrill Lynch stock, $59,000. And then from there, it was all based off hitting certain production. So production basically is your total revenue generated, your sales, your commissions, fees generated, and through that you had the potential to make. And this is all based off where I was, like whenever the whole the merger took place. So they're just basing off currently where you are, and then so that year there was that bonus, and then there was this bonus and this bonus and this bonus. Now, none of those bonuses were guaranteed. That was based on me actually hitting certain numbers. So there definitely is a potential that I wouldn't have received any of that. The only thing that was guaranteed was that amount there, that $138,000 in cash and $59,000 in Merrill Lynch stock. So at this point in time, I'm pretty much drooling over this money, even though I haven't received it yet. It's not my bank account, but it felt like I already had it. But I also realized that Wachovia still hadn't made their offer. How much were they going to pay me just to stay? So the offer that they made, that Wachovia made, was nearly not as much as Merrill Lynch. In fact, they only offered $62,457. I know, I said only $62,457. I know, I heard it, only. But once again, this is $62,000 just to stay and do what I was already doing. Because the one thing I really haven't mentioned yet is if I was going to open a Merrill Lynch office, like that is a lot of work. Obviously, you gotta build the office and you gotta try to convince all your clients to transfer with you. And that may or may not happen. Like there is a lot of risk involved. But as someone that loves challenges, like I was just enamored with the idea of opening up an office, hitting all these numbers, because I knew that I was going to get all of these performance bonuses. Like I just knew it. But then a crazy thing happened. You see, God had something different in store for me. Now, I wish I could say that I made the choice of turning down the $359,000. I can say that I turned down the $62,000, but in fact, the $359,000, that is something that God knew that I could not make that choice for myself. So the other advisor that was being recruited with me decided that he didn't want to go. And it was pretty much a package deal. They wanted both of us. At the time, I was still younger, still hadn't really proven myself. I kind of proved myself, but he was definitely a much larger producer, had a much bigger book of business than I had. So they wanted us both. And without him, they didn't want me. So he said no, which means basically my deal was off the table. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that I took that in stride, that I went home and felt really good about the whole thing.
No!
I'm lying. No. Don't believe me. I'm lying. I'm so lying. If I'm being honest, the day that I found out that I was not going to get all this cash up front, that I was not going to Merrill Lynch because the other guy said no, I went home. I went home early that day. I remember I went home and crawled into my bed, still wearing my tie, my shirt and tie. I think even still had my leather coat on. I was so depressed. I was so sad. So sad. But through that process, I clearly discovered that Wachovia was not where I was supposed to be. They did not align with what I was building, the way that I managed my clients, the way that I did my investment strategy, my financial planning. It just wasn't a good fit. So I knew that there was something better, something else out there for me. And through that process, I ended up talking to 3 other advisors in my office, and we went on to form our own independent financial planning firm. And that's where Alliance Investment Planning Group came to play. And from there, my other firm, Alliance Wealth Management, which I sold this year. So it's crazy to think that I gave up $422,322, $359 from Merrill Lynch, $62,000 from Wachovia to go start an independent financial planning firm where I didn't get any upfront bonus. In fact, I had cost to set up the business that I wouldn't have had with either one of the 2 other options. But I knew there was something out there, and it all started with starting that firm and then launching my blog, Good Financial Sense, which I would have never been able to do had I started with Merrill Lynch. There was no way they would allow me to do anything like that. So while I can look back and calculate and see that I had $422,000 that I gave up, the reality is like I didn't lose that. I didn't give it up. I ended up making that and so much more because I went out and did something that was even more beyond my comfort zone. That wouldn't allow me to start my online business and explore other business opportunities. It is a blessing that over $400,000 was on the table, and I was able to say no, or had some help in being able to say no. That was over 12 years ago, and not a day goes by that I regret turning down $422,000. But it's still crazy, right? It's crazy that that's how the financial service industry works, that you can either get paid just to stay or get paid a whole lot more to take on something new. Is this new to you? Did you know this is how it works? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Could you have said no? Was your heart racing when you heard that I was turning down that amount of money? I'm just kind of curious what you felt, what you could relate to in that experience. All right, y'all, until next time, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Peace.